I recently realized that I've tried to make content online over a dozen separate times, and none of them were the exact same. I first started with a podcast when I was 19, and I've done probably, I think, 4 different podcasts now in the span of 6.5 years. And the first one, I had no idea what I was doing. We got very basic $20 mics off of Amazon, and we literally named it the Whatever Podcast because we were going to talk about whatever. Now, I say this because I want to make it apparent that I had no idea what I was doing, and yet I still tried. And when you make a podcast about talking about whatever, and that's in the title, that shows you how wide the range is for where we're willing to start. My second podcast I ever did was 4.5 years later, and it was called The Conscious Cast. And that was where me and 3 of my buddies would come up with questions about the modern world, about psychological, philosophical questions. All of us had different aspirations and ambitions, so we had a large array of things to talk about and different viewpoints and angles of questioning that we could go into. But the main gimmick of it was to ask questions across the panel at everybody and ask them what they had to say about each question. And then I did 2 more podcasts with other people in that group on the side. One of them was about the modern world and Hollywood culture and celebrities, and another one was about science and theology and philosophy. And that's just on the podcast area. I've also created several YouTube channels over the years. I've tried to make gaming content. If you go into this account and look at my old videos, I've tried to teach the Bible, or at least stories in the Bible. And now I'm doing this. And then on Instagram, I've started several times and done different things. I used to have an account where I would just ask people questions. Now, this video is not all going to be about me. I'm just using myself as an example for choosing your path and the importance of it. Now, like I said, with the first time I got online and doing the Whatever Podcast, I had no clue what I was doing. And I didn't know what to talk about, and I didn't know anything really about starting a social media, and I didn't know anything about putting myself out there and what worked and what to do. But I looked up just enough, and this was before AI as well, so, I had to look this up. Classic, the old Google without a Google Gemini at the top telling you exactly what to do. So, I had to go through a process of learning what mics to buy, how to set this all up, what we're going to talk about. There's a lot of planning involved, and at the end of the day, it wasn't very narrow. It was so broad that we didn't know where to start. So we did the Whatever Podcast, and if you could guess, I think we did 3 or 4 episodes, and that was it. I think a big reason for that was because there was no actual pinpoint goal of where we wanted to go, what we wanted to speak about, the topics that we were most concerned with. I mean, we were interested in things like health and the modern world, of course, but when it came to actually making it all happen, we did it about 4 times, and that was it. And I don't regret it, because it's important to start. Because if I wouldn't have started that podcast back then, when I did, if I wouldn't have decided that I want to put myself out there, I would most likely not be here today, talking over Minecraft videos. You know, it's very different. When I started that podcast, the last thing I thought I would be doing is something like this, because I thought what I wanted to do was get behind a camera and record me and my buddies talking about conversations at a round table like Joe Rogan. I thought that's what I was going to be doing. And I couldn't imagine doing it myself. I thought it would always be with friends because I needed someone to bounce off of, or I needed somebody to work through my ideas with me. No way I could just do this on my own. There's too much stuff to go on to figure out by yourself, I thought. So I'm talking to that person out there. This video is for that person out there who doesn't know where to start, doesn't know what to do, isn't sure what they want to do. And this doesn't have to be about making content either. That's just the thing that I've continuously returned to. It can be so many different things. You could have 20, 30 different jobs from the time you're 16 to the time that you're 26. And maybe over the course of those 20 to 30 jobs, the fact that you kept putting yourself out there and kept starting again at different places, you acquire a lot of different skills, and your vision narrows and your ambition sharpens, and you have a tighter idea of who and what you want to become. And that's really what this is about choosing a path. Now, when I say choosing a path, what I really mean is, if you could imagine your life in 5 to 10 years, what would you want to see? What sort of relationships would you want to have? What sort of daily life would you want to have? What things would you want to have going on around you on a daily basis? And even if you don't know, maybe you have a very rough, fragmented idea of how you want your life to be in the future. Maybe you just want a wife and kids, or maybe you want a husband and kids, or maybe you just want really good friends, or maybe you want to have enough money to not have to work a 9-to-5 for the rest of your life. There's a lot of different things that it can be, and you can make it very broad. Like I said, the Whatever podcast was incredibly broad, but we started anyway. Even though our vision wasn't exactly precise, we still knew that we wanted to be on a mic and speak about things. That was all we needed to know to actually get our foot in the door of making this happen. So if you can just find out one thing about yourself and one facet of your ambition and what you actually want in the next 5 to 10 years, or just in general what you want for your life, that can be at least a breadcrumb leading you towards your path and what your path is meant to be. And I don't expect you to get it right the first time. I certainly didn't. The first time I chose the path of podcasting, it didn't work out. The second time, it didn't work out, but we did 30 episodes instead of just 4. And it lasted much longer. It was about a year, and we did it almost every week. And then I was doing side podcasts on the side of that, and I did about 4 or 5 episodes of one, and I did about 8, 9, I think maybe 10 episodes of the other. So, all of this adds up. I have more experience behind a mic because I consistently, slowly started inching towards more of what I actually wanted to embody and figure out for myself. And that's why I started with everything on the Whatever podcast, and then we moved to more social and ambitious questions among 4 people for the Conscious Cast, and then, more specific niches like science and theology and Hollywood culture. it all started to tighten. It all started to, the path started to reveal itself. And even though none of those were the absolute correct path, those were not the ultimate things that I stuck with. As you can tell, I'm sitting here talking over Minecraft videos. It's not the exact same, but I have a background in a lot of different subjects that interest me, and a lot of different experiences that have shaped me and sharpened me to leading me to trying, for the 13th, 14th, maybe 15th time online. And every time I've seen more of what I want to put out there into the world. And you can do the same. But I would argue the best way to begin doing that would be to figure out what is it that you want with your life. And you don't have to know everything. You don't have to know exactly where you want to live. You don't have to know exactly how many kids you want and exactly what you want your first wife's name to be. There's a lot of things that can be in the dark or in the gray area for what you want to accomplish with your life. But if you can even just figure out one thing, if you say, okay, I want to read 20 books a year. It could be something as simple as that. I want to read 20 books a year. Even if you only read 2 or 3 by the end of the year, you're still starting to embody the person that you want to become. And things evolve over time. As the months and years go by, you grow as an individual, and as you consistently try, including fail, because failing is very important for these types of discoveries, you can find out more and more of what that daily life actually looks like. What will really help you is trying. Trying something is one of the most important things that you can do. I'm seeing all these different YouTube creators online, and it's motivated me when I hear their message, and it's just start. There's a lot of people who say, I didn't have the mic that I needed, and I didn't think that I had the type of voice that people would want to listen to, and I don't know if I have the right technology to make my video as pristine as I want it to be. So these are all the reasons that I shouldn't start. And they were just making this ginormous point where it's starting is the important part. It even if it's rough, even if it feels like a draft, even if you're uploading something that just feels like a practice session rather than something that you'd actually want to sign your name on, the fact that you're willing to sit and speak and upload it, and no matter what the feedback is going to be, at the end of the day, you're making videos for you. Now, if the main goal is that you want to turn this into a career, or you want people to actually listen to what you have to say and you want it to be helpful, constructive criticism is always important as well, which can help you not deviate from your path. When people say, hey, your audio is messed up, it's like, yeah, I know, I'm working on it. Or, hey, that advice is not always true, that's not what worked for me. You can take the insight. Maybe for your life that's not the case, but if you can hear someone else out and their different worldview and sharpen yourself and take it into consideration, you can construct a path that is more persuading and helpful to other people, which is the ultimate goal of finding a path. First of all, is for you to understand who you are and what you want out of life. And I would argue the second thing would be to influence others and help them by finding a path that helps others along and sets them up for success. Because especially if you've gone through it, if you've sat in that confusing state where you don't know who you are and you don't know what you want to do and you don't know where to start and you just want to be successful, or you just want to find out something about yourself and what you want out of your life, that can be a very painful state to be in. So I think it's natural to want to help others get out of that state, especially if you've helped yourself get out of that state, or if somebody else has given you some advice that worked for you. And content was that for me. Content was the challenge for me that I have repeatedly come back to throughout the years. You know, I'll have like when I was doing videos about the Bible, there was just something in me at a certain point, because I didn't do that many. I think I did like 12 to 15 videos. And I did try, and I did care about the topic, but it didn't feel like it was fully my path. It didn't feel like it was giving me a big enough area to position myself and to navigate myself. And the podcasts in the past, those offered me a lot, but even those, it was always bouncing off of other people, which is fine. I have nothing against that. I love conversations and podcasts, but there's a different quality in someone speaking from their own point of view to an empty audience, which is what I'm doing here. And that doesn't mean no one's going to watch. What I mean is there's no outside influence on me at the moment. I'm just speaking into the void, essentially, for other people to listen to. But this is fulfilling to me because, first of all, I love Minecraft, so that fits very well. I already streamed the game, so that lines up perfectly. And these types of videos online where it's life advice and people talking about the things they care about and finding out the hard way, you know, that's what I wrestle with on a daily basis anyway. These are the things that are difficult for me in trying to find my way. That's one of the hardest parts for me in my life, is trying to find my way. I have been knocked down endless times in my life. I'm not even that old. I'm only 26. But life has knocked me down. I have been betrayed. I have been ripped off. I have showed up for the wrong people time and time again, and I had to find out the hard way. But just like all the other failures in my life, that has helped me tremendously in uncovering who I want to become. Because when you find out that something ultimately was not in your best interest, even though they acted like they were, that is a humongous learning experience. That will wake you up more than any victory will. Because, especially if it leaves you alone. Oh my gosh, if you're left alone after a situation like that and you have to rebuild yourself completely by yourself, that is a different challenge altogether. Because there's no one else to rely on, really, at least in the day-to-day. And that doesn't mean I don't have people helping me, because I certainly do. I have family. But, you know, when it comes to my daily life and it comes to the things that I care about and that I'm most worried about, I am a solitary soldier. I am on my own in this one. And I've known that for years, even when I had a bunch of friends. When it came to the things that I deeply cared about, which writing was up there, but mainly writing was up there because it helped me navigate and find my way and figure out who I was and uncover the things that I wanted for my life. And I'm not saying that other people, my friends were not worried about these things, but they had decided on more things in a more concrete way than I had. I was in the questioning, wondering phase for a very, very long time. I am still in the process of coming out of it in this very moment, where I'm finally finding answers for myself that I'm accepting. And that's a big reason why I started doing these videos. Because I've made the decision that this is what I want to talk about. And so many times in the past, I would have let every fear of failure stop me immediately in my tracks. I would have let any hate comment ruin my day. I would have let anybody who said that I didn't know what I was talking about convinced me to just delete my whole channel and every video I've ever uploaded. It's like these are very real interpretations, especially when you're just trying to figure it out and you're trying to find your way and you feel like you're in the dark and you're scared that you're on the wrong path, which has always been a humongous fear of mine. I was always afraid that I either wasn't going to take the chance and find out what I needed to find out for my life, or I was just going to go in the complete wrong way and I was going to be too hard-headed to change if I needed to. So I want you to think about all the things that have happened in your life. And I don't know how old you are, because to be honest with you, when I was 16, 17, 18, 19, even in my early 20s for a lot of that time, you couldn't have paid me to tell you what I wanted for my life. I just showed up for work and became a manager and, did the daily life thing. I certainly started thinking about the future around the time I turned 20, because that's when I started meditating and writing, and I started delving into topics that were new to me and interested me. I don't want other people to remain in that state forever, because it can make you feel like you're going insane. And there's so many different directions you can take, which is part of the reason that people have so much paralysis and they don't know where to go, which is a paradox, but it's true. The fact that you could go anywhere is exactly why you go nowhere, because you don't know where to start and you don't know where you want to end up and you don't know all the different paths that you could take. So just getting your foot in the door with something specific is fantastic to give you a little bit more, to narrow your vision just a little bit, so that way you'll actually begin to consider deciding on something. And it doesn't have to be your whole life path. It can just be, like, for an example, you could start writing if that was something that interested you. You could buy a flower and you could take care of it just to have a sense of, because maybe you want to farm whenever you get older. Maybe you want to own your own you want to be an entrepreneur, so you look into being a manager for a small food place, or for your local Walmart or your local Kroger. And then you'll have a better idea of what management entails, and it's not going to be exactly what you want it to be right in that moment. Maybe you don't want to work at Walmart for the rest of your life, but if you're a manager for a year or 2 years, you have that you have that for your resume, you have that for your experience, and you really don't want to let failure convince you to never choose a path, or to never choose a hard path, or to never choose a path that you don't know anything about. Because especially if you're scared, which I have been in the past for sure, it still gets to me sometimes, but if you're scared of hate and looking stupid and not knowing what you're doing and people being able to tell, it's like, I don't fully know what I'm doing here. The only reason that I'm able to do it semi-comfortably is because of the amount of times I've done it in the past. But even here, I don't fully know what I want to speak about up until the point where I click record. I have no idea what I want to speak about. I kind of have a vague half idea, and then there's a side of me that's like, oh, well, if you don't have it all together, you might as well just not even record, because no one's going to know what you're talking about and you're going to sound ridiculous. And then I find a lot of the times that after I click record and I start going, it was just trying to convince me not to start. And after starting, a lot of that fear goes away. And a lot of the worries about not knowing what to say or do snap into place automatically. And the path begins to reveal itself once you begin. And that was always something that messed me up entirely, because I had it backwards. I always thought you saw the path and then you began. No, it is completely opposite. You are already on the path, but you realize what path you're on once you're already in there. Usually once you're deeper into it. And you can see where you're really headed. Once you start making the mistakes, once you start putting yourself out there, once you start saying things that you're not used to saying and learning things that you don't know anything about. If you really want to uncover who you are, what you want, and how to get there, beginning is essential. Begin if you're not ready. Begin if you don't fully know. And if you are truly in the dark and you have no clue, not even a fraction of an idea of the first thing that you want to do, pick something at random. Pick up a book. Start playing a sport. Learn a new topic. There is so much in the world for you to uncover. You're never going to know everything. And you're never going to be so comfortable and masterful at anything that you don't make a mistake. So, that's today's word. Choose a path. It's very important. If you're going to find what you want in this life, it comes from a path. It's on you. Thanks for watching.